Slam! Ugh, that's too heavy. Welcome to You Do It Yourself Marble Video. Today we're going to do two types of installations. A small entryway and an existing brick fireplace. We're going to marble right over the face of it. We're going to cover the fireplace and the entryway with a concrete backer board. We're going to be using specialized setting materials, so read the directions on your setting materials very carefully and watch the tape a few times before you get started. This way you'll have no problems, believe me. You know, marble can add class to any home, and these two projects are just little weekend projects. I mean, you could do a small entryway like this today, 4 or 5 hours, finish it the next day for a couple hours and entertain that night. Do it on a Saturday and have guests over on a Sunday. So let's get started, shall we?
Using power tools. The following power tools should only be used by those who've had the proper training and are familiar with the equipment being used. All equipment must be grounded properly, and safety glasses must be worn. The wet saw is really the only way to cut marble. There are other handheld power saws available, but we do not advise these to be used by a novice. The wet saw cuts with a diamond blade and is water cooled. It makes straight cuts and any angle cuts you will need. They can be rented from most tool rental yards. These are the basic tools you will need when tiling with marble. The first tool is called a margin trowel. It is used for prying up tiles and mixing mortar. The next tool you'll need is a notch trowel. The notches on the trowel come in different sizes to measure the correct amount of mortar to be applied to the surface with the type of tile you are using. Check the back of the mortar bag or the acrylic admix container to find the right size notch trowel for the type and size of tile you are using. The demonstrations we will show you today are on flat level surfaces, so we'll use a 3/8 inch square notch trowel. For grouting, you'll need a rubber grout float. This is used to spread your grout across the tile. You will also need a large grout sponge for cleaning your tile. The remaining tools you may already have, like a pencil, a tape measure, a chalk line for marking your working lines, and a carpenter's framing square and a long straight edge. You will also need a couple of large buckets, some rubber gloves, and good eye protection when cutting tile. As you can see here, this carpet entryway is quite worn and is in need of a facelift. The first thing you must do is pull the worn carpet away. With a pair of pliers, grab the carpet pile in the corner. Then begin to peel the carpet off the tack strip that is holding the carpet in place. Peel back just enough of the carpet so you can inspect the area where you will install the marble. Next, place the carpet back over the same area, and with your tape measure, find a point on the carpet a few inches smaller than the actual area that needs to be removed. Now, with the use of a framing square placed on this mark and against the wall, take a razor knife and begin cutting along the framing square at a 90-degree angle from the wall. Hold the square firmly, then slowly begin to cut through the old carpet. Never take your eyes off the edge of the blade, and cut about a foot along the square. Now lift the square up and place a metal straight edge along the cut you just made and even with the square. Then with your tape, measure the same length as before and make a mark on your metal straight edge at that point. Now with your razor knife, cut along the straight edge until you reach that point you just marked. Now place your square against the straight edge going in the opposite direction and remove the straight edge and place it along the square in the new direction. Hold the straight edge firmly and begin cutting the carpet along the edge until you've cut through the entire carpet. Next, remove the old carpet, exposing the foam carpet pad below. Then simply remove the pad in this area and dispose of these materials. Now peel the carpet back further and at the 5-foot mark, begin cutting through the wood tack strip with a wood chisel. Because the entry is 5 feet by 5 feet, you will have to remove 5 feet of the tack strip in both directions. Now with a larger chisel or pry bar, begin removing the remaining tack strip. The tack strips have sharp little hooks on them, so be very careful not to get cut. Because we know this is a 25 square foot entryway, set 5 pieces of marble along the wall and 5 pieces of marble at the entryway. Then with your framing square, make sure the rows of marble are at right angles to each other. After this is done, remove the framing square and place it at the end of the last square and make a mark at this point. Using this mark, measure from the edge of the first tile, then transfer this mark to the opposite side. Because it was 48 inches, we'll need to cut the carpet back a little. Then weight the folded carpet and foam pad down with a piece of marble so it'll be away from our work area. Now extend this mark 48 inches from the edge of the other marble tile. Then mark a line to the other tile at the front of the entryway. You will now have your perfect 25 square foot area marked off and ready for marble. But first, the next step is to install the backer board. Here we have some examples of backer boards from custom building products called floorboard, multi-board, and wonderboard. Floorboard is 1/4 of an inch thick, multi-board is 1/2 inch thick, and wonderboard is 1/17 of an inch thick. These products are compressed Portland cement and expanded shale aggregate, sandwiched between polymer-coated glass mesh reinforcement. Backer board can easily be cut with this carbide tip scoring tool and a straight edge. Score along the straight edge and then snap it the same way as you would drywall. For cutouts and holes, use a chisel to break through the fiberglass. Then with a hammer, break through the board. You can use a portable mini grinder equipped with a diamond blade for other types of cutouts and thin cuts. The backer board we are using today is 4 feet long and 3 feet wide. Now with the use of your framing square and straight edge, measure and mark off a 3 by 4 foot area to install a full sheet of backer board. When covering wood or vinyl flooring with backer board, you must first spread a mixture of acrylic mortar admix and thin set mortar to the area. Here we are using custom thin set mortar and have mixed it with custom acrylic mortar admix in place of water to ensure a good bond. Mix the mortar so it has the consistency of thick frosting. Using your notch trowel, spread the mixture over the entire area as shown. Next, place your backer board over the mortar and fasten it down using either 1.5 inch galvanized roofing nails or 1 1/4 inch wafer head screws with a corrosion resistance coating. Place the panels in remaining sections so they are no more than 3/16 of an inch apart. The nails or screws should be placed every 6 to 8 inches apart on the perimeter and through the field of the board. Now as before, place some tiles along the wall and entryway and use your square to straighten them up. Now let's mix the mortar. Some green or black marble needs special mixing materials like epoxy to be installed properly. Discuss your project with your supplier before installing these marbles. Here we are mixing custom marble and granite mortar mix. This product allows you to apply mortar up to 3/4 of an inch thick and uses water as a mixing liquid. Begin spreading the mortar with a notch trowel along the front of the entryway. Spread the mortar so it has all the same thickness and consistency. Then begin setting your marble along the line you have drawn, starting from the corner, working your way out. Always make sure that you press firmly to seat the marble into the mortar. Before you begin setting your marble, it's always a good idea to unpack several cartons of marble to check the color and grain consistency. You may also want to sort several boxes together to get a good mix of color and texture. And always clean up as you go with a sponge if you spill excess mortar on your marble or any unwanted areas. After the first row is in place, measure and mark a line 2 tiles wide and strike a mark with your pencil or chalk line for your second grid line. As before, spread an area about 2 feet by 2 feet and place your marble tile in. Try not to push the tiles too close together. You don't have to have them so tight that the mortar is forced through the joint to the surface. After a short while, you'll get accustomed to it. Before long, you'll be on your last course. Now we can clean up the tools and mortar bucket. In about 24 hours, we'll be able to grout this beautiful entryway. Today we are using custom polyblend grout. When grouting tiles with less than 1/8 of an inch grout joint, you must use a non-sanded grout. Custom has 47 colors of polyblend non-sanded grouts. When grouting joints with more than 1/8 up to 1/2 inch wide, you must use a sanded grout. Sand helps fill the joint and prevents hairline cracks. Custom has 47 colors of sanded grouts available in the polyblend formulas, which include the popular Impression series, the Classic Standard series, and the beautiful Designer series. Before you grout, always use masking tape to cover all wood, carpet, and other surfaces that may be stained by the grout. Here we are using a non-sanded grout. Pick the grout up with your float and apply the grout into the farthest corner. Then with the float on its edge, pull the grout towards you while pressing it firmly into the grout joints. Try not to go over the same area too many times, because this will cause the grout to build up too much in that area. Spread the grout in a 2 to 3 foot square area. Then go back and remove the excess grout with the edge of your float while holding the float at a 60-degree angle. Scrape the excess grout off and place this grout into the next area. Then use this grout to fill the remaining grout joints and repeat the process. Always remember to pull the grout at a 45-degree angle across the tile. This way you'll be less likely to catch the edge of the float into the joint. After the grout has had time to set a while, you may begin to wash it off. Try to let the grout stand for at least 10 to 15 minutes. If the weather is warm when you grout it, it may take less time to get hard. We suggest you take your time and only grout a small section at a time completely before you move into another area. To wash your grout off and finish the job, use clean water at all times with a damp sponge that is not dripping. Begin loosening the drying grout with circular motions at first. Use your finger or margin trowel at the corners and next to the wall to remove the grout that may have built up in these areas. Work and loosen the grout so it appears smooth and full in the grout joints. Try not to remove too much. For best results, clean your sponge often. Remember, a good rule is the sponge should be damp, not dripping water. Clean one tile at a time and pull the sponge across the tile slowly. Then flip the sponge over and repeat the same motions. Rinse your sponge thoroughly and move on to the next tile. Marble usually cleans up nicely. After the grout has dried for a while, it will have a dried film that must be removed with a dry dust cloth. After the grout is firm, you can cut the carpet to the marble and install the tack strip. First, pull back the carpet and cut the foam pad back about 1.5 inches. Then place your carpet over the marble and with a sharp razor knife, cut the carpet by running the knife along the edge of the marble. Never take your eyes off the blade of the knife and slowly cut the carpet to fit. Now you can install your tack strip. The tack strip has little arrows which point to the marble or away from the carpet. The tack strip also comes with the nails already in place, so you can nail the strip to the floor. Nail the strip about 1/2 inch or so away from the edge of the marble. When this is complete, pull the carpet over the nails and tuck it in place like I'm doing with this large chisel. There you have it, a beautiful marble entryway. Installing marble over a fireplace. Finding the correct layout for your installation can be very confusing. We suggest you start from a center point on your lower or floor section and add your tile or marble. Set a tile on each side of the center point you have drawn. When you get to the end, see if the layout is to your liking. As you can see, this layout would end up with many cuts if you carried the layout up the face of the fireplace. Most people prefer fewer cuts, and never a cut smaller than half a tile. Next, try your layout with the first tile centered over the center point you have drawn. Many times, this will give you the desired look and fewer cut tiles. Always start a layout so you have a full tile at the top face of the fireplace. Once you have found a layout at the bottom, use this measurement to figure out the layout on the face. To begin, start placing masking tape along the carpet and around the sides and top of the existing brick. Now place drop cloths around the entire area. Here we are using an old shower curtain for this purpose. After the drop cloths are in place, use masking tape to secure the drop cloth to the other masking tape like we're doing here. Next, spread your mortar on the face of the brick and add your cut pieces of backer board to the area. Press the backer board firmly against the brick. Continue placing the backer board on all sides as shown. After the backer board is in place, mark with a marking pin all the cement joints on the entire perimeter of the fireplace. Now spread mortar over the floor section of the fireplace opening. Next, measure and cut a large piece of backer board to size and place it over the mortar. Make sure it's a perfect fit. Walking over the board will ensure there is a good bond with the mortar. Next, take 1.5 inch concrete nails and begin hammering the nails into the cement joints. The marks you made earlier will help you find the joints. Hammer a nail every 6 to 8 inches apart throughout the entire surface and along the sides. Wearing protective eyewear for this job is very important. These nails can really go flying if you hit them wrong. You must protect your eyes. You can now apply your mortar to the face of the fireplace along the sides and along the top. Then install the remaining backer board, inserting the concrete nails in every joint. For this fireplace, we started by placing a cut piece of marble at each end of the upright or riser. We then added our marble on the top from one end to the other. When we got to the end, we see that we will need to spread the marble about 5/8 of an inch so it will cover the end tile. Because we have 5 tiles across, we will have 4 grout joints measuring 3/16 each. First, we will pre-cut our face or riser tile and begin spreading our mortar. We know the area will be 5 tiles across and 2 tiles deep, so we will cut 5 pieces for the front and 2 each for the sides. Once we have the mortar spread, we can set these cuts in place. The first tiles on each side will need to be cut half an inch shorter so the grout joints will line up. Remember to press the tile firmly into the mortar. Now add your second corner piece and again press it firmly into position. Now take a corner tile and make sure the two corner pieces are square. Spread your mortar across the front and side section and place the remaining riser tiles in, making sure they are approximately 3/16 of an inch apart. You can now add mortar to the top section and begin setting these tiles in place. To make the job easier, we will use these plastic 3/16 inch cross spacers between each tile. Set the spacers in like this at first and press the tiles together. When you have your first 4 tiles set, place a spacer at the 4 corners to give you a perfect square. Before you know it, you'll have this area completed. Allow these tiles to set before you move to the face tile. If you understand your layout fully, you can install the face tile first. To figure the layout of the face, first measure the area you want to tile. Then place your tape measure on the completed section to figure out how many tiles and the size of the cuts. After you have made your cut, place it in and add your remaining tile using your cross spacers along the edge and up the face. Repeat these steps on the other side, then spread mortar in the middle section. To keep these tiles from sliding down when they're installed, wedge a board with 2 legs nailed to it inside the firebox. Install the marble tile pressing firmly, then place a couple of cut pieces of marble between the wood and the marble. Keep these in place until the mortar has set firm. The next day you can remove the marble spacers and the wood bridge and you're ready to grout. Before grouting, the first step is to remove the original masking tape. Cutting below the tile with your razor knife is sometimes needed. Then add new masking tape around the entire area. Next, add newspaper or cardboard inside the firebox to catch any falling grout. After your grout is mixed, begin spreading it at the top of the fireplace. Pack the grout into all the areas, pressing firmly. Cleanup is exactly the same as with floor tile. With your first wash, loosen and begin smoothing the grout. Then go over the area with the final wash, smoothing the grout joints so they're uniform in size. Allow the grout to dry and dust off the haze from the marble. There you have it, a job to be proud of for years to come. Here are a couple of projects you can do with marble or tile. The first project is a coffee table. You begin with a set of wooden legs. Place a 2-foot by 5-foot piece of backer board over the legs, and now you have a platform to cover with marble or tile. Spread your mortar over the entire area. With this job, we will use a brass trim designed to cover the edge of the marble or tile, except we are using it to cover the edge of the backer board. We have cut it to length at 45-degree angle so it will fit snugly. The trim has holes punched in it, so the mortar will ooze through it, securing it to the surface when dry. Next, we will add more mortar and install our marble over it. When the mortar has dried, we will grout it just as before, and we'll have a beautiful coffee table to match our entryway for less than $100. The next project, we will cover an old lamp with our scrap marble. We have used a hammer to break the marble into small chunks. Then we apply the mortar to the lamp and set our marble pieces in. When the mortar is dry, we'll grout the lamp using a sanded grout. Total materials cost, not counting the lamp, is about $15.
That just about does it for today's program. I'm Bruce Lamb. Thanks for watching.